So the reason why, this came about was from, a lot of, tickets that we have, folks, once they put things into the system, they want to know, how can I get that back out? And, just kind of familiarizing you with like the differences between, appointment notes versus session notes and what the session assessment is, how could you use them? Um, so that's kind of where this was brought about. So these are the topics that we're going to cover, as you can see, and then at the end, like the reporting aspect of it, what appointment reports or center attendance reports have those. So. So the first kind of thing that we want to look at is the appointment notes. So the appointment notes take place as you're scheduling the appointment, or it could also be if you allow your students to have access, and of course tutors and admin always have access, but you can add any kind of comments that you need on that session before it happens. So a lot of times this is all information about, the upcoming appointment. So, if you need anything to be brought maybe before they come, if it's an on-site, or even if it's virtual, maybe they need to be prepared to, cover a certain topic or whatever. So they need to do some things beforehand. Additionally, they can add attachments. So attachments will help, like if they need to have like a paper reviewed or something like that. And the last kind of key point is that, they can kind of have a conversation back and forth if you enable, if you enable communications from the students. Basically, you can kind of see how that goes back and forth, and it always timestamps the information when it was added, who updated it, and of course the notes and comments themselves. One of the good things with appointment notes as well is every time there's a new note added, there is an email that gets sent out along with that. So both parties are aware of it, and they'll be able to see any kind of comments. So even if you don't allow the students to really reply to these, you could even have where when the tutor puts a comment on there, knowing that they're going to get it not only in the maybe confirmation email, but any kind of update emails as well. And then this takes us to our session log comments. So these are two different things. So with the appointment notes is what we call them. Sometimes you'll see them referred to comments or notes. It's really the same thing, but we have ones that live in the appointments and ones that live in like the session logs. So the difference with the session log comments, these are when they've actually had a visit with the student. With the appointments, they may or may not end up having that appointment if the student's a no-show, if he gets canceled, things like that. So sometimes those notes aren't as relevant when it comes to being after the appointment's already done, unless they actually met with the student. So these session log comments are when you're in the center attendance session log section, the tutor can actually add comments about how that session went. They could upload a document as well on there. Maybe they graded a paper, so they have a paper that's graded uploaded. But basically, this is the real information about what happened during the visit. So that's one thing I wanted to kind of clear up between the appointment notes versus like your session comments. These are when they have the real visit and they add those notes to the session itself.
Hey, Nick, I just wanted to interrupt. We had somebody in the audience ask about captions. So I've turned those on because they are having trouble with their audio. So hopefully those are helpful.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I'm not sure of the settings, but maybe we can set that up to happen regularly. Okay, so the next thing is the session assessments. And I'm actually going to show you these in the system. So just kind of going through to kind of explain them first. But here we have an assessment is kind of like a survey that the students can, I'm sorry, not students, that the tutors can fill out about how their session went with the student. So just like the comments, these are real information about the visit that actually happened with the student. And other than it not just being like a big blank field for them to add information, this can have like a drop down or check boxes, as you can kind of see in the screenshot there. So it's presented more like a survey. And the only thing is that you're limited to one of these assessments per center. So sometimes they do have to be a little generalized for all your services. Um, but each one of these actually are attached to a real visit. So it can be, you know, any kind of information that you would want to know when folks visit your center. Okay, before we get into the reports section, what I'm going to do is we're going to jump over to Accudemia and check that out real quick. And I just happen to be testing with the gym location, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. That's just the sign-in station. Okay, and so this is my admin panel. So a few different places to kind of look at that is, you know, first we're going to look at our appointments and the appointment notes. So if I go to center attendance appointments view all, you can see all of your appointments that you have, like your existing ones. Now, it might be the time frame. Here we go. Okay, and I don't, oh, I was gonna say I don't have any, but I guess all of mine are no-shows or canceled. But so here on the appointments, if you have notes, there's usually like a little symbol here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let's say on this appointment, even though it got canceled, you know, I wanted to go ahead and add some notes here. I can click on that little notes icon and go ahead and add my notes. Okay, and then if I go ahead and add that note, and I could attach a file right there, and that actually has trying to refresh the view real quick. Okay, well, it doesn't show it. I thought it did. I think maybe the session comments do actually show up that way, but it does have it here when I click on the notes button for the history, as well as if I click on details right here on the appointment, it should be listed toward the bottom. So any kind of notes going back and forth, any kind of files that were shared, and those are for your appointments. The student, if you give them access, should be able to see that as well, and the tutors. If I'm an administrator, I can go into the control panel. And go into, sorry, it's user account settings and access restrictions here. And oh, you know what? I'm actually wrong. It's in the, I wanted to say appointments, but I thought it was there. So under appointments for the center, and I was using this center. Okay, here it is. So they call it comments, like I said, that sometimes those are interchanged like notes or comments, but if I have this checked, then they can see the comments left by the tutor. So you may want to have those private. So this is another instance where if you didn't want them to see these comments, then you could use it for something like that. But if you want them to be able to kind of communicate back and forth, you could check that off, and then they could actually add their own. And so that has to do with the appointments. So all that is under, center attendance appointments view all. So now if we go and look at the session comments and the session assessment, that's all going to be under the session logs here. So under center attendance session logs. And when you mouse over one of these, we have the comments button. It looks like this. And so, okay, so we just add a comment here, could attach a file. Okay, let me see. Okay. Oh. So, and like I said, it timestamps it, puts a history there. Now on this one, I actually do have a has comments here, so I can see which ones, and I can even filter only with comments if I wanted to see all the sessions for like a particular student on this screen that had that. The assessment is the next button. Kind of looks like a survey. And here I could go ahead and fill that out if I hadn't already. Also when you have it checked here, you also get the comments and session assessment buttons up here as well. So this is where they live, and that's where they would fill those out. Now, if somebody's working in the center, also under the Manage Center screen, I don't have anybody signed in right now or recently signed out, but those areas you can update the comments on the session and also the assessment there. Now, if you wanted to create your assessment, you're gonna have to go into Center Attendance Session Assessment here. Yours might say Tutoring Assessment, depending on the terminology used, but when you get in there, you can see all the different assessments that I have. Now, this is the only active one that I have, and my writing center is the only ones using it, so we have it active for that center. And I can only have one, so you can see I only could pick one center here that could be active for. But I can have multiple ones for each, like each center can have their own unique assessment form that they fill out. So now we're going to jump back to the PowerPoint real quick, and I want to show you which reports you can get that data back out of the system. So one is the appointment comments. And it's weird because sometimes if you look at it in the report section, it's just called appointment comments. But if you look at the title, it'll say appointments with comments report. So if you pull the PDF, it's going to look a little different on the heading there. But I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it opened a new window. But that just takes us to the report section here. And basically if I look under the center attendance, and it's appointments dash comments here. This is the report, and I can filter out by location if I need a specific student, and this is what it kind of looks like. So I've got like the tutor's information, what time it was, all the services, the student, the course, and then we have the timestamps for each of those comments here. Oops, sorry. And it does also have colors, because remember I was saying like the appointments could be canceled or voided. So if you see anything in red or yellow, then those were ones that didn't have visits corresponding. We also have this last code here that tells you whether it was face-to-face or online, so you'll know the mode and everything that they took that. Or it will have like the C or the V as well there. So all right, and then we have for the session log, the comments report. And like I said, it has two different names: session comments report on the main report screen, or on the PDF it says session log report. And let me jump back to that other. So if we go back to reports at the top, and yeah, here it is, session comments report. And then, like I said, with the other one, you do have the option of filtering on any of the information you need, and whether or not to show their ID number at the top, like who the student is. And it's very similar. Like I said, the difference really being the way that the comments or notes are used. So for appointments, it's more for like getting prepared for the session, versus, these are on the session logs, or the actual comments of what happened. And when we go into the Q&A section, people can tell me like if they use it differently. But that was the original intention. So tutoring assessment results. So this one, if you saw, there's basically a charted kind of graph there, along with all the percentages and counts of how people answered. So this one's just a general overview of all your kind of assessment statistics of how the sessions are going. This may not be useful. It's sort of like a statistical analysis of those sessions, but it could be. If they're having, mainly successful sessions, then, maybe there's no changes, but if they're having some, bad ones, maybe you need to look into that. The next one is the tutoring assessment detailed, and this is going to be more useful if you ask me, just because it does have the student's information, what session it applied to, and then all of the answers that they answered for that survey. So basically you get the full details on everything. And this one's available in the PDF, Excel, and different various formats. We also have another one that's called Tutoring Assessment Detailed Columns format. And you may be wondering why we have that or whatever. Now this one is an Excel file only. And as you can see, if I back that up a bit and go, each column is represented in the file. So we have, like how did the session go, or how did they leave the session, I guess. And you have all the answers, and then rate the student's performance, and you can see, all your answers right in the same column. So if you're looking, for all that data, and then it has, of course, at the beginning, we kind of missed that, all the information about who the student was, who the tutor was, and all that. So that's pretty much it. That's all I had. I would kind of like to know, if anybody are using the uh, appointment notes differently, or session log comments differently than we presented them. But
Thank you,
do we
Nick.
have any questions? Go
Yes,
ahead.
we did have a question come in. Amber asks, I might have missed it, but can you explain the difference between appointment notes and appointment comments?
Okay, those are really the same. I was trying to explain the difference between like appointments versus like the session logs. So like we have basically appointment notes or comments, and then session log notes or comments. And the two different ones are basically, with the appointment, it's more like, oh, here's some information you need before we have our visit or our appointment. And then when the session log comments, these are all your walk-ins, all your appointments, basically all of the actual visits. So the session log comments are usually more about the visit that actually happened, and the appointments, comments, or notes are kind of the leading up to the appointment. So those might not have all the most useful information. But if you are looking into, um, let's say you're looking into like the history of a student coming into the center, there is another report I was going to include in here. If we go back to reports, there is one called student usage. So this one's actually really good. You do have to actually pick a single student. The only problem with this report is it doesn't have the comments. So maybe in the future we could have a student usage that includes the notes and the comments in here. But just to show you what this looks like real quick, because I ran this the other day, you actually see a rundown for that student for the time period that I selected, um, all the times that they had come in, and it breaks it into visits or your actual, times that they met, versus appointments. And then, like I said, the appointments can be tricky because, um, they may or may not have came in for that. So I had a better one last time. I think I didn't. Oh, this was just for last week. Let me. Yeah, so the only problem with this is that this doesn't have the comments. So what I would have to do is kind of use this report, maybe with one of the comment reports so I could see, for those. And you can see, like, for instance, this person had a lot of issue appointments. Like the red usually means they were voided or canceled. So. But yeah, I wanted to include this, but it didn't have that. So it's kind of, it's a good report because it shows all their visits, like basically that, all the appointments. And I thought it had one other thing. I think it might include any surveys that the student took as well, if they had some. Otherwise, it's blank on the bottom of that.